guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we assemble for the first technical session of the day, may I now invite Mr. Somnath S., Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, to chair the session on Space Economy, Perspectives of G20. Sir, I hand over the session to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome once again to the precursor event of the SELM. Dear distinguished ambassadors, high commissioners, councillors, and other delegates from G20 countries, as well as our invited nations. It's my privilege to chair this first session of the SELM precursor event. First of all, let me thank each one of you for taking your time to come over to Shillong to participate in this event, which makes a very significant impact as far as the SELM is concerned. As already been stated, this session is being organized with a larger objective of making sure that the space becomes a formal agenda in the G20 process later, and also to bring the aspect of the space economy in the mind of the people of wider audience, other than those who normally handle this space, mostly the agencies. We have made sure that in this SELM event, we have the representation from the industries and also the other stakeholders who are going to provide a lot of feedback, especially in the domain of the policy. So we made sure there are some participation as well as some assessment on the emerging space economy in the coming deliberations, which you will hear later. Before we commence this program, let me take back to the origins of the space program in India, which dates back to 1960s, where we thought that the space economy and space activity were not of the very interesting theme at that moment. Dr. Sarabhai, who is a pioneer in the space engineering in India, he convinced the government that it's very important for the nation like India to work in space. And we got help and support from many nations who were developing space activity at that time. And because of their help, we could bring in the initial work in space to India, do the early launches, build satellites, build technologies, build capabilities over a period of time. So we would like to thank many of you who are here, the members of the G20 nations were part of that journey that India took in the early years of 60s. Today, we have a capability to work on the end-to-end capability in space sector, building rockets, building satellites, launching applications to show benefit of the space activity to the public. And we get a lot of support from the government to continue this effort. But it's already been known today that the space is not limited to the national activity. It's not a governmental activity. We realize that it is more into the sphere of economy, and it has to be connected with the national economy of each of the nation. And ISRO, the Department of Space, has been connected with all the spacefaring nations and aspiring nations in the past. And we have entered into MOUs, bilateral agreements, and joint cooperation work, mostly in the domain of the space agency level and mostly the level of education, capacity building, etc. But the engagement of our space activity in the industry level and the business level has not been very large in the past. This is something that we are planning to address in this G20, and it's very important for all of us to come together to look at this as a possibility in the coming days. The growth of Indian industries and startups in the space sector has been happening over a period of time, and it has been spearheaded by ISRO by creating the capability in industry in taking whatever research work we do in Department of Space and ISRO into the industry. And today we have a huge industry base of manufacturing, building, and also scaling up the capability in building rockets or satellites or applications in industry. The change what we want to make today is not to become suppliers of parts or systems in space economy, but really become an end-to-end provider of solutions based on the space capability that we have here. And of course, in the next session, we will be addressing those changes that have happened, the space sector reforms, and how the new space actors are emerging in this sector will definitely be discussed in the coming discussions. The engagement that we need in G20 system is something beyond what we have talking about the space sector, which is opening up. We know that today the the scale of the space economy is going to be 1 trillion by 2040 is some sort of an estimate. But for this to happen, many things have to happen. Really, the markets cannot be really confined to each of the nation. We need to find out how we can operate pan G20 or pan the global way, how to create markets for the space activity in each of the nations. Even for India, we know that today the unexplored market of space economy is really huge. Today, the services of space activities are being served only very selected part of the nation, especially the urban and semi-urban areas. Even for our huge villages are still not covered for the application side. So there is an excellent market in the domain of communication, remote sensing, and application. And this must be true for the entire G20 nations as well. So we would like to explore the markets. We would like to create the capability to service the entire G20 nations through this engagement of the industry. So I believe that the connect that we are going to have in the diplomatic level, and all of you have come here, really going to take that message, and also to connect with the stakeholders and the space actors in your nation, and find ways by which we can create the better engagement in the coming days. So with this introduction, let me offer to invite your members of those who are assembled here for this meeting and get your quick feedback, possibly 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the maximum, so that we'll be able to cover the entire all of you in the given time, and also take some discussions or questions at the later point in time. So I will first start with the views and comments from the delegates from Argentina to start with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, it is a great honor to be again with Secretary Somanath and with the Sherpa of the G20, Amitabh Kant, and well, also with Mr. Goenka, who I met yesterday. So, as you might know, Argentina developed a very significant space sector, the largest and most developed in Latin America, with a focus on sustainable development and open to cooperation with all. The Argentine Space Agency, CONAE, National Commission on Space Activities, works in the elaboration and dissemination of space data, which has become an indispensable element in the decision-making processes. The space sector in Argentina has more than 30 years of history and has allowed the development of an ecosystem with large and small private and public enterprises. As an example, INVAP, a large technological company well known in the nuclear field, has developed the capacity to generate full satellite projects starting from the concept of the mission to the placement in orbit of the satellite and its operation, excepting the launching. Beng is an enterprise which analyzes and commercializes space data and currently is developing space launching vehicles. Looking into the future, we can mention some ongoing projects. One of them is the satellite mission SAOCOM, which was developed in cooperation with the Italian Space Agency for Land Observation. The Argentine-built satellites SAOCOM 1A and SAOCOM 1B have radars in L-band. Argentina is also working on a project to develop launching capacities called Tronador 2, which will allow to place in orbit satellites up to 250 kilograms as a first phase. In a second phase, Tronador 3 will be able to put in orbit satellites up to 1,000 kilograms. Furthermore, in the area of optical instruments, CONAE is working on the mission Sabia Mar, a bilateral project with Brazil for Earth observation and the studies of seas and coasts. We have to acknowledge the Sabia Mar 1 is in an advanced stage of development and it will be put in orbit in 2024. CONAE has 3 space centers in different areas of Argentina and 1 ground station in the province of Tierra del Fuego, and is also placing 2 antenna systems in the Antarctic base Belgrano 2. Argentina also has a very prestigious institute for the development of human resources in the space sector called the Institute of High Studies Mario Gulich. This institute has been providing South-South cooperation to develop human resources in the space area in Latin America. The Argentine telecommunications company, ARSAT, works on the design and construction of telecommunications satellites and the marketing of satellite services. Currently, it operates in the satellites ARSAT-1 and ARSAT-2, the federal network of fiber optic, the national data center, and provides technical support to the digital TV. It is worth mentioning the cooperation that we have with the Turkish aerospace industry in a joint venture called GSATCOM, oriented to the development of telecommunications satellites. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll move on to Australia.
Am I audible? Yes. Thank you, Chairman Somanath, Dr. Kant, and Chairman Goenka for all the facilitation and all the welcome that we have had at the G20 meetings, and especially this one. My name is Sanjeeva De Silva. I'm Australia's Councillor for Energy, Resources, Science and Industry, and it's my great pleasure to be here at this wonderful event. I'd like to start by just giving a few background points on Australia's space agency, and to say that the head of our space agency, Enrico Palmera, will be coming to the meeting and is looking forward to being there. Our space agency is a lot younger than ISRO. It was founded in July 2018, and its mandate is to make the Australian space sector globally respected, to inspire and improve the lives of ordinary Australians, and also to build strong international and national engagement. The agency is the front door for Australia's international engagement on civil space and operates as a priority-setting mechanism in the Australian system. In its short life of just 5 years, it has seen a massive growth in the Australian space sector. There are now over 600 organisations working directly in space, in the space sector, and 17,000 people in the Australian system are employed. Those numbers may seem small by Indian standards, but we are, of course, a much smaller population as well. A recent analysis of Australia's space sector estimated that the sector will generate as much as $4.5 billion annually. And as of April 1st, 2023, the agency estimates that $3 billion of investment has been made into Australia's space sector. As a nation, we committed to never conduct destructive, direct descent anti-satellite tests, ensuring that we remain at the forefront of supporting the rules, norms and behaviours that will ensure the long-term stability of outer space, which all of you, including Chairman Somanath, highlighted in his presentation. As a result, both government and private investment since the agency's inception, the sector is producing stronger space capabilities, getting more homegrown technologies into space, and forming stronger international partnerships, generating mutually beneficial outcomes for our partners as well as the Australian space sector. As the front door for the international partners' engagement in Australia, the Space Agency looks forward to building global space partnerships, as we've done indeed with India, including with the recent extension of our space investment program. We are also very much looking forward to using this forum as well as the surrounding forums to make sure that that collaboration continues to build. Australia is bringing the International Aeronautical Congress and the World Space Community back to Australia and our region in 2025 in Sydney. We are also continuing to work closely with our Indo-Pacific partners through the Asia-Pacific Regional Space Agency Forum, and Australia has confirmed that we will co-host with JAXA the Asia-Pacific Regional Space Agency Forum in Perth in 2024, an excellent precursor to the International Aeronautical Congress. So Australia is very much looking to welcome all of the delegates here and yourself, Chairman Somanath, Chairman Goenka, to Perth in 2024 and to Sydney in 2025. Australia has a lot to offer when it comes to space. Our geographical location and world-leading technologies allow our trusted partners human trusted partners additional capabilities, and our trusted alliances, human talent and capital, as well as a responsible regulatory environment, allow us to thrive in this sector. Australia has strengths in advanced communication technologies and can assist other G20 countries with tracking and telemetry of lunar missions and digital mapping of the surface of the moon with our data analytics expertise. The Australian government has a goal of reaching 1.2 million tech-related jobs by 2030. To achieve this, we need to create a thriving technology workforce, and the Australian government is prioritising critical technologies such as quantum, artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation. So there is a lot of good work happening in this sector, Secretary Somanath, and we look forward to working with all of our colleagues. I want to end by just reiterating our support for India's G20 presidency generally, but also for the work that you're doing in the space sector. But I have to highlight also that this task is made inordinately more difficult by Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Russia's actions continue to exacerbate the fragilities of the global economy, constraining growth, increasing inflation, heightening energy and food insecurity, and elevating financial instability risks. And they run against what the G20 leaders agreed in Bali. It is essential that we uphold a multilateral system that safeguards peace and stability. But with that, Secretary Somanath, thank you so much for having the Australian delegation, and I look forward to our engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now call upon People's Republic of China.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the President's agenda for the hospitality that receive us to the SELM. And dear all delegates, and good morning. China's space industry has developed rapidly. Now its participation includes state-owned enterprises, universities and research institutes, and also commercial companies. The upstream of the space industry chain is determined by the state-owned enterprises, while private enterprises are in supporting links such as components and standalone machines. The medium stream is dominated by the state. In recent years, private capital has begun to enter the measurement and the control field. The participation of private capital in the downstream is relatively high, with large number enterprises, which is the link with the highest degrees of participations in commercial space. At present, China has more than 500 satellites in orbit. Space technology has promoted the development of emerging industries such as new energy and the new materials, and the rise of the new business forms such as smart cities and unmanned drive-ins. In the future, China will develop and deploy space tourism and space biopharmaceuticals and space breedings. For the international space cooperations, China attaches great importance to international cooperation in the space economies and adheres to the concern of the open cooperation, innovation, and sharing for win-win development. And just a note, the space scientists from all the countries are invited to jointly conduct scientific research on lunar samples and participate in the demonstration and constellation of an international lunar research station. for the problem and the challenges. And one is the global governance of space. Firstly, countries around the world should strengthen international cooperation and exchange of experience in space activities, conduct in-depth and substantive discussion on the formulation and implementation of norms, and form an inclusive, interconnective, and equitable and substantial global space activities mechanism. Secondly, constellation on space traffic management systems and supporting technologies. Priorities should be given to the conducting space traffic management systems constellations at the international level. The supporting technology of space traffic management needs to be developed such as precise navigations and automatic sharing of locations and maneuver data. Thirdly, large constellation challenges. The sharper increase in the number of spacecraft in orbit poses serious challenges to the safety of in-orbit operations. Countries should join hands to the discussion of the management guidelines of joint considerations to avoid possible negative risks and for the prevent of the militarization of space. As you know, space is more closer to connected with defense. So for the first study will be the adoption of the appropriate and feasible transparency and confidence building measures in outspace activities by all countries will help to enhance mutual trust, reduce misjudgment, regulate center space activities, and promote the peaceful use of the outspace and maintain an outspace securities. Secondly, to conclude treaties on the arms control in outspace. Thirdly, strengthen the dissemination of information on space policy and outspace activities. Just mentioned for the G20s, I kindly mentioned, and G20 is a premier forum for international economic cooperations, and also we think is an important platform for the global economic governance. The concept of the national security should be generalized, not be generalized. And just science and technology should not be politicized and also institutionalized. And will be also encourage the solidarity, cooperation, and communication and coordination should be strengthened to promote world economic development, and just like our president's India promoted the ERA, just in China will surely support your suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the comments. So we will move on to France.
Honorable Chairman, honorable hosts, honorable colleagues, France was the third space power in history, and that ambition is still intact. We have the first space budget in Europe with 3 billion euros a year, which we share between half to the European Space Agency, for which we are a main contributor, and half for our national and bilateral cooperation program. Our main partners are the USA, India, and Japan. To celebrate our host, I have to say that India is our second partner in volume. And we are celebrating 60 years, 60, of cooperation this year. So it's a very old story, and we are grateful and very happy to be here in India. With our partners, we share similar stakes in international cooperation, and I think those are closely linked to global economy. First of it is climate research, and climate research, which started in creating data and providing data for scientists, rapidly moved into economical applications and services, as you know. We have solid cooperation with the USA through the JASON family, and now the new generation SWAT, Joint Satellite. We have a great cooperation with India on climate surveillance, with a full fleet of joint satellites, Megatropics, Saral, Altica, and the future satellite we are developing together on infrared surveillance of the planet, which is called Trishna. We have a great cooperation with China on a fantastic climate monitoring satellite, which is called CFO-SAT. Second topic I wanted to mention is space security, which takes a big part in what we are discussing now with all our partners. Space security also has its place in space economy because security and defense applications will provide growth as well as the other sectors. I need to mention here strategic dialogues, which are the top-level diplomatic entity of discussion we have established with, again, the USA, Japan, and India for now. The third stake on which I think we are getting close to space economy is privatization, and we are sharing this movement, of course, with all our partners. We are all experiencing the fact that space now is getting more and more private. The French space industry itself is worth or makes 11 billion revenue a year. 35% goes to export. And the big industry players we all know, they irrigate 85% of SMEs and small industry. So it's not only about the big ones, of course, it's about also the 85% of smaller ones. This leads me to the startups, and only one number. 366 million euros is the private investment that has been injected in startups in France in 2022. So that's only the private investment. The government has an investment plan as well, which is called France 2030. It amounts up to 54 billion euros, not only for space, of course. And its objective in space are to financing disruptive innovation, experiment, invention of new models of partnership. I'm stressing this one because on a day-to-day basis, working on the topic, I noticed that what we need the most is new models of working together, new models of partnership, because we know the models in the old world, we need to find models for the new world. Third objective is to diversify and integrate new fields of economy, as it has been said earlier. So I will conclude in saying two things. Space is only a tool. I've been in space for 30 years. I'm very proud to be in space, but space is only a tool. But it's an indispensable tool in the toolbox. And space economy is no different. Therefore, space reaches way, way further than only the space capacity and the space expertise itself. It touches upon everybody, upon every field. And the second thought I wanted to share to conclude is that when it comes to competitiveness, international cooperation is everything. It may be counterintuitive because we may think that we should develop nationally, but actually it is not, international cooperation not only opens the markets, but it also opens the possibility to innovate in technologies. So thank you for your attention. I wanted to mention one last thing, is that in CNES, in our French space agency, we have 40% of women, and I think we share that with ISRO. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we will move on to Germany.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman, Excellencies, and dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank our hosts and organizers for the warm welcome and the excellent organization. And I have to admit that for someone like me who grew up in the flat northern plains of Germany, traveling from Guwahati to Shillong felt almost like getting into orbit. So Germany sees space technology as an enabler for economic development, for instance, in areas such as Industry 4.0. International cooperation is at the heart of our approach to space. Germany is one of the largest contributors of the 20 countries working together in the European Space Agency. We see space exploration as a way to find answers to our shared and common challenges, such as mobility, climate change, communication, security, and disaster management. Germany plays a leading role in the European data relay system, which provides high-speed data communication. And Earth observation is a very important aspect, as it allows us to monitor the sea, the atmosphere, and it provides data on environment, weather, and climate. This, of course, serves a scientific interest, but it is also economically relevant. German technology plays an important role in areas such as synthetic aperture radars to observe the Earth under difficult weather conditions. And this data can help us to predict crop yields or landslides, which is very important for the climate mitigation. We also believe that young generations have to be inspired to set their minds on space exploration. Therefore, through the program Exploration by Distance, Germany is providing teaching modules for schools as well as summer schools. Robotics is another important aspect for the German space policy. Robotics promise to reduce the risks associated with space exploration, but also promise to make it more affordable. Removing space waste is another important aspect where we believe that robotics will help us to progress, and which is very important for the sustainability of our common space exploration. But these technological advancements that we hope to get in robotics also can be transferred for applications on Earth, such as in industrial production, services, mining, security, and medical technology. The German Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action also closely monitors the concept of new space, the commercialization and privatization of the space economy by identifying opportunities for German companies. And finally, allow me to have some words on the Indo-German cooperation in space. German and Indian companies have worked together on technology regarding launch systems, on the manufacturing of small satellites, and we also work together on data for Earth observation, and we hope that this summit will provide us with new contacts and new ideas to further strengthen our economic ties. We believe that the end of the pandemic opens windows of opportunity, and we hope to make the best of this meeting. And once again, thank you for hosting us here and for the excellent organization.
Thank you so much. We move on to Mexico.
Thank you very much. I'm surprised about the alphabet jump, but it's okay. Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me thank you and through you the government of Meghalaya for this wonderful hospitality that has been bestowed upon us. The space policy of Mexico is defined as a state policy. Its purpose is to use science and space technology to meet the needs of the Mexican population and generate jobs with high added value, promoting innovation and the development of the space sector, contributing to the competitiveness and positioning of Mexico in the international community, in the peaceful, efficient, and responsible use of space, focusing its priorities on three axes: space telecommunications, Earth observation, and space exploration. In that sense, we are working in accelerating the digital transformation by using our large experience in our telecommunications satellite for well-being and social inclusion. The Mexican Space Agency also has as one of its priorities to develop a comprehensive Earth observation system which will contribute to improving the quality of life of the population and the economic growth of Mexico. Likewise, it will have a social impact since it will collect essential data for decision-making in the management of natural resources, the protection of the environment, the monitoring of climate change, ocean sciences, security and surveillance, urban intelligence and infrastructure, the early warning of disasters caused by natural phenomena, as well as for prevention, mitigation, preparation, and response. We must seek long-term solutions for the health sector. Also, we are working in scientific and technological development for deep space exploration, having already projects to Moon and Mars. Exploring outer space and celestial bodies will give better results if it's carried out together. Many Mexican actors in space are getting involved exponentially since the first draft of our new space program. Organizations like the Mexican Federation of Aerospace Industry, with more than 200 companies, national and foreigners, are taking an active role like our allies and partners in these new endeavors. The role of this policy in a country like Mexico lies in stimulating new spaces for the competitiveness and prosperity of Mexicans in a world marked by the development of innovation as a strategy to face great national challenges. The principles of the space policy privilege the public interest and stimulate the creation of programs aimed at penetrating strategic areas such as society and the environment, as well as priority sectors of the country. In addition, this work will give a firm impulse to the recovery, strengthening, and configuration of an ambitious policy in science, technology, and innovation articulated with industrial and economic development programs. I must also add that work is being done, amongst others, within the OECD and the G20 on how the space economy can concretely contribute to face global challenges and to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda relating to space for people, planet, and prosperity, and share the relevant best practices. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now invite Russia.
Distinguished delegates, dear Indian colleagues, I'm glad to participate in this meeting. Today, space technologies have entered our everyday life and became an integral part of the global market for goods and services, as well as a tool for solving a wide range of tasks in different areas of human activity. Satellite and telecommunications, high-speed internet, systems for navigation and remote sensing of the Earth are being utilized in agriculture, prevention of natural disaster, geological surveys, and ecological monitoring, search and rescue missions, basically in every area of human economic activities. Development of public-private partnership is also an important mechanism of communications and raising efficiency of space activities. Moreover, it's very important to think about preservation of outer space, sustainable for peaceful use both by the present and future generations. The Russian Federation welcomes the initiative of Indian G20 presidency to include space issues on the agenda of the group, on the way to the implementation of the concept of one Earth, one space, one future. Close coordination of all participants of space activities is needed more than ever. We are convinced that the Space Economy Leaders Meeting will contribute to achieving this goal. We are striving to expand fruitful cooperation in space, both at the bilateral level and in multilateral formats, and we are ready to fully contribute to the successful implementation of the initiative of the Indian friends. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Now we will invite Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In the globalizing world, information has a strategic value. Science and research consist the foundation of economic growth and social development. Today, space is an indispensable area for us to spread and use the information we have. We see the importance of space in research and development, education and innovation, economic growth, employment, increasing living standards, protecting environment and disaster management. Multilateral platforms provide the necessary medium to enhance the work on civilian use of space. Turkey is among the few countries which is a party to all 5 fundamental space agreements signed under the United Nations framework. We believe that these 5 treaties ensure a safe, secure, sustainable, and peaceful outer space. Guided by the world and spirit of the international treaties, Turkey has long been expanding its space activities and capabilities. In this regard, some days ago we launched our first national high-resolution satellite imager, which was produced in Turkey. Soon we are planning to launch other national communication satellites as well. Turkish Space Agency aims to continue to strengthen the industry, improve scientific infrastructure, and develop human resources in the field of space technology. In line with these progressive national policies, Turkey announced its national space program on 9 February 2021. The strategic goals of Turkey's national space program include moon mission, merging national satellite production activities under one single authority, developing a regional positioning and timing system for Turkey, ensuring access to space and establishing a spaceport administration, increasing Turkey's efficiency in terms of astronomical observations, and investing in space weather and meteorology. Turkish National Space Program also aims to develop space economy industry, establish a space technology development region in Turkey to promote investment in the sector, develop competent human resources in the field, and send Turkish citizens to space with a scientific mission. Our investments in space have increased significantly in recent years. Turkish state investment was almost 300 million US dollars in 2022. Turkey also attaches importance to the safe and sustainable conduct of outer space activities, considering the benefit of all countries. Accordingly, we believe that regional and international cooperation in the field of space is crucial in order to promote use of space for the benefit of all. I wish our discussions today and upcoming Space Leaders meeting will provide us with tangible results. We thank Indian government for their effort to draw G20's attention to space during its presidency. Our special thanks go to Meghalayan authorities for their warm hospitality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the comments. We move on to Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chairman Somanat. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the Government of India and State Government of Meghalaya for organizing this meeting. This meeting will provide invaluable opportunities to raise awareness of space economy and enhance international cooperation to promote space economy. It is very impressive to see the Government of India's commitment to becoming a leading country in space economy by investing significantly in space development and expanding private sector participation in space development. And the new policy will allow the private sector to take an active role in the development of the Indian space program and contribute to its competitiveness. Like India, my government also attaches great importance to the space economy. I'm very pleased to share now with you what Korea has been doing for the space development and also Korea's perspective on space economy. Despite being a latecomer in space development, Korea is actively participating in space development based on its robust manufacturing industry and advanced technological capabilities. June last year, Korea successfully launched a homegrown space launch vehicle in Korea and deployed a test satellite. Korea became the 7th country to launch a domestically developed space rocket and a satellite of more than 1 ton. And November last year, my government announced the space economy roadmap, including plans to establish an aerospace agency similar to the US NASA and India's ISRO. This roadmap aims to make Korea a space technology powerhouse. Over the next 5 years, the Korean government plans to double its space development budget up to 1.15 billion US dollars and invest a minimum total of $74.5 billion by 2045. We also intend to transfer space technology developed by public institutions to the private sector. By 2040, Korea aims to develop various satellites, such as mini satellites, medium-sized, multipurpose, and geostationary satellites. To achieve this goal, my government will encourage international cooperation in both the private and public sectors. Korea has set a goal to create a rocket engine that can travel to the moon within 5 years and initiate resource exploration in the moon by 2032. Korea also has a goal of landing on the Mars in 2045. To do so, Korea plans to implement an integrated training program to cultivate talents in the space industry. So we are establishing a space technology research center at universities and enhance research capabilities through collaborative projects with exceptional research institutions, both domestically and internationally. And my government also significantly promotes and supports the growth of space startups. We will create a $38.5 million fund by 2027 to invest in the private sector and to support the growth of space startups. This fund aims to foster the private space sector in the private-led new space era. We hope that it will significantly boost private space startups and help enhance the country's technological capabilities in this field. We believe it is essential to vitalize the private space startup ecosystem to put the Korean space economy on track. Okay, that was what I wanted to share with you. And once again, thank you to Government of India and State Government of Meghalaya for this wonderful opportunity to be in Shillong, Meghalaya, magical land. I wish all the success for the India's G20 presidency and its leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We move on to United Kingdom.
Dear distinguished members, greeting to all the dignitaries on the dais and participants from across the space industries and other missions. On behalf of the UK government, I would like to express our pleasure in being part of the 4th G20 Space Economy Leaders Meeting event in Shillong. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Indian government for passing the new Indian Space Policy 2023. I'm very excited to hear about new policy and look forward to know more about it in coming days. I also thank Indian Space Research Organization and New Space India Limited for hosting British High Commission team during OneWeb India 2 mission launch in Sriharikota. The recent reforms in the UK space sector reforms aim to increase investment in the sector, create new jobs, and support the development of new technologies. The UK focuses on navigation and timing, space weather, space robotics, and autonomous systems, and Earth observations. Combined with the development of commercial spaceflight will enable the country to increase its share of the global space market and drive economic growth in coming years. One of the key components of these reforms is the establishment of the National Space Council, chaired by the Prime Minister. The council brings together key stakeholders from across the government, academia, and industry to provide strategic leadership and coordination in the UK space sector. By coordinating efforts and prioritizing investment in the right areas, the Council can ensure that the UK is making progress towards the key objectives, such as an increasing its share of the global space market. Space sector income was 17.5 billion in 2021, an increase of 5% from the previous year, an increase of 58% from 2010. In addition to the National Space Strategy, which was published in July 2021, provides a clear roadmap for the UK space sector over the next decades. This strategy sets out a plan for the UK to increase its share of the global space market to 10% by 2030 and identifies 6 priority areas: telecommunications, Earth observation, space-based positioning, navigation and timing, space exploration, and space debris. The UK government has also established the Space Act, Industry Act 2018, which regulates the UK space sector and provides a framework for the commercial space activities, including the licensing and insurance requirements. The Act also includes provisions for the regulations of spaceports, including safety and environmental requirements. To support the development of commercial spaceflight in the UK, the government launched Launch UK in 2018, a 10 million program. The program aims to establish the UK as the leading destination for the commercial spaceflight, creating new jobs and driving economic growth. It includes support for the development of spaceports, launch vehicle, and satellite technologies. The government has also awarded funding to 4 cities to develop spaceports: the Shetland Space Center, the Sutherland Space Hub, the Patrick's Spaceport, and the Nikwe Spaceport. These sites will support the launch of small satellites and suborbital flights, driving innovation and growth in the UK space sector. In conclusion, the recent reforms in the UK space sector demonstrate the government's commitment to driving economic growth and innovation in the sector. By establishing the National Space Council, developing the National Space Strategy, and providing a clear framework for commercial space activities, the government is ensuring that the UK is making progress towards its objectives. The development of spaceports and support for the development of commercial space flights will create new jobs and drive the economic growth. UK is also hosting a 6th UK Space Conference in Belfast in September. We would like to have a presence from the participation from the ISRO, InSpace, and NSIL, and industries. I would like to congratulate the G20 organizers, ISRO, InSpace, and state government, putting together this fabulous event and exhibition in Shillong. I look forward to an exciting 2 days event and hope to see successful partnership stem from our two countries through this event. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the comments. We now move on to United States of America.
Good afternoon. My name is John Speaks. I'm the Deputy Minister Counselor for Economics at the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi. Chairman Somanath, Chairman Goenka, my fellow participants and delegates, it's a pleasure to be here participating in this important conference of G20 space economies leaders in such a unique location. Unfortunately, I must first strongly convey that as long as Russia continues to wage war against Ukraine and its people, the G20 cannot proceed as if it is business as usual. The United States condemns in the strongest possible terms Russia's premeditated and unjustified war against Ukraine. Russia's aggression has created significant global food, energy, health, and economic insecurity, with the most vulnerable the hardest hit. It pulls the world's attention and focus away from addressing our most pressing problems and our most exciting opportunities. The global space economy is worth almost $500 billion. We are in a period where technological innovation is significantly reducing costs and creating new capabilities. Lower costs means it's not only governments that can afford to put rockets and satellites into the skies. A host of private sector companies are now investing in space programs, seeking both scientific advances and business opportunities. The U.S. National Space Policy and the Space Priorities Framework recognize that a robust, innovative, and competitive commercial space sector is the foundation for economic development and sustained progress in space. The impact of government support is seen in the unprecedented levels of private investment and growth in the U.S. commercial space economy. There have been tens of billions of dollars in private investment in space startup companies, in no small part due to NASA's strong support for our commercial space industry. The world is returning to the moon, this time to stay, and with commercial and economic ambitions in addition to scientific and exploration goals. This makes international cooperation and coordination more important than ever to ensure a stable and peaceful environment on and around the moon to allow these activities to flourish. The G20 countries are leading lunar actors, with many having signed the Artemis Accords, re-emphasizing our commitment to upholding the principles of the UN Outer Space Treaty as we advance lunar exploration. Continued dialogue about the rules of the road is important for long-term sustainability. We're at a critical juncture also for ensuring a sustainable low Earth orbit environment, so the economic benefits of space activities can continue to be realized and the safety of our astronauts and humans in orbit maintained. Banning anti-satellite tests would be a good start, with many G20 countries already having signed up to the US-led unilateral ban. We invite all countries to join the moratorium on ASAT missile tests to help build a more secure and sustainable future in space. As part of our global effort to respond to climate change, space systems have an important role to play, providing economic and social benefits across many areas. Providing Earth science data openly and publicly is critical, and greater international coordination must be built on open data principles. Planetary defense is another area where we seek to meet potential existential risks with increased international coordination and cooperation, as stated in the U.S. National Preparedness Strategy and Action Plan for Near-Earth Object Hazards and Planetary Defense. The potentially cataclysmic consequences of an asteroid impact, an impact which is indifferent to national borders and geopolitical dynamics, presents a unique opportunity to work together to foster cooperation in joint research and response efforts. To conclude, the United States remains tremendously excited about the untapped potential of the space economy. As NASA Administrator Bill Nelson clearly laid out in comments just last month, the Biden administration is resolved to explore new cosmic shores, continue to make strides in traveling to and working in space and on the moon, increase the speed and safety of air travel with cutting-edge technologies, and help our planet and improve lives here on Earth. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We now move on to Netherlands. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman, and much gratitude to the organizers for inviting us to this important platform and also to this wonderful part of India in Shillong. I'm the Science and Innovation Counselor for the Netherlands, and if we speak about the new space economy in the Netherlands, we are really speaking about these pillars, about science, technology, and innovation. And the Dutch space tradition already early had a scientific focus on being a founding member of COSPAR in the 1950s already, the EU Space and Research Organization, ESRO, ELDO, as well as the European Space Association, ESA. And we became a space-faring nation in 1974 with the scientific missions. And now Noordwijk is a very small town in the Netherlands that few Dutch people know of, but already today I had conversations with people that have been there because it is the home of the European Space Research and Technology Center, ESTEC, which is the largest branch and also the technological heart of ESA. Around ESTEC and in general, the Netherlands has a flourishing space economy at the moment with about 250 to 300 companies and knowledge institutions working in the space sector. And we will be witnessing a significant growth if we look at the numbers for the coming decade. The Netherlands has a space strategy adopted in 2019, and it very much focused on the use of outer space as an enabler and an accelerator for economic growth, resilience, and prosperity in line with the SDGs. So it's completely in line with Mr. Kahn's opening words this morning. Our ambition is to add as much value as possible to specific sectors, such as water management, agriculture, health. These are sectors in which we excel already, but we also see many societal challenges for us and internationally. So we believe that the proper use of space and space data can help and be of essential help to these sectors. If we look at our technology and our expertise in there, such as small sats, emission monitoring, solar panels, rocket design, we are trying to see how we can stimulate innovation in this field by linking it to both societal as commercial opportunities. In this platform, we stress that we're very keen and experienced on international cooperation, be it through ESA, the EU, or with our great space nations such as India as well. We have a joint working group with ISRO, and we're looking forward to continue our collaborations on science, skills, education, technology, and innovation internationally. We believe it is important to have better insights in the space economy, and we're very happy at the moment with the ongoing and current efforts of the OECD Space Forum, and we would like to proceed such efforts within the G20 context to have better data on the space economy. So we would like to increase the shared standardized data and also promote the sharing of best lessons and best practices internationally. Finally, we would also like to very much recognize here the importance of space education and actively stimulate international programs aimed at fostering interests for space for the youth and for young students. We think that it will be necessary for a successful space economy to together inspire the future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the comments. We move on to Oman.
Thank you, Chairman Somnath, for the for chairing of this meeting. Greetings to Dr. Pawan Jonka, the chairman of InSpace, and to our dearest G20 Sherpa, Excellency Amitabh Kant. And our salute to the Indian government for the choice of the incredible places for the G20 meetings. Space industry in Oman is relatively new and almost at its early stages. It's only last year when Oman has unveiled a national space policy that targets the establishment of a domestic industry to support the assembly of satellites and space system in country. The policy is accompanied by an executive program that sets out a 10-year-long blueprint for the development of national capabilities. The program is divided into three distinct phases, the first of which, titled Ignition, aims to stimulate the growth of a national ecosystem of service providers that will spawn the development of space-based applications. During this phase, as many as 9 initiatives are planned to be progressed. These initiatives include the End User Application Booster Program, National Space Data Platform Incubation Program, Center of Excellence for Space Application, Space Cloud Partnership, Ground Station Hub, Direct Receiving Stations, and National CubeSat Program. One of the key initiatives is the National CubeSat Program. Oman's first satellite, called Aman, was the product of collaboration between 3 companies, Omani companies and EDCO and Poland Sat Revolution, which were working with Oman's Ministry of Transport, Communication and Information Technology. The project was executed in stages comprising several crucial elements: the design, manufacturing, and development of software, the creation of the ground station, and personal training and know-how transfer. The purpose of the satellite was to put Oman on the map of global space research and exploration. Beside the launch of the satellite itself, a 5-year collaboration between the involved parties was to include designing and manufacturing a complete satellite imaging, receiving, and transmission infrastructure based on CubeSat technology. Unfortunately, which was only beginning of this year, where Oman hopes were unsuccessful when the rocket carrying the country's first ever satellite failed to reach its orbit. But, however, Oman National Space Policy has identified several projects and investment opportunities that will contribute to the development of a domestic downstream space industry. These initiatives center on establishing or enabling various programs and partnerships worldwide in Oman. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the comments. So we move on to Bhutan.
Chairman Somnath S., Dr. Pawan Kumar Gyunka, Chairman of InSpace, officials of the State Government of Meghalaya, Excellencies and colleagues from the diplomatic community, distinguished participants, very warm good wishes to all of you. It is a pleasure and a privilege for me to take part in the precursor event of the Space Economy Leaders Meeting here in Shillong. I thank ISRO, the State Government of Meghalaya, and the Government of India for the warm hospitality and the excellent organization of this important meeting in the beautiful city, capital city of Meghalaya. I would like to thank Prime Minister Modi ji and Government of India for giving opportunities to neighboring countries like Bhutan to also attend G20 events. For all countries, big and small alike, space is an exciting frontier. Space-based technologies have revolutionized communication and navigation systems. The advent of technology and entry of new players, most notably from the private sector, have opened a whole new level of possibilities for economic and other benefits. Against this backdrop, Bhutan, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, started our space program in 2016. It was a humble start. We trained a few space engineers who designed Bhutan's first ever satellite, a CubeSat that was launched in 2018. In November 22, the same group of engineers, working with their Indian counterparts, launched a small India-Bhutan satellite. The technology, skills, and resources required for space exploration are still prohibitive to most countries. For countries like Bhutan, the only way to break the prohibitive barrier of space is through partnership with close friends like India. The partnership between Bhutan and India in the development of our first joint satellite project stands out as an outstanding example of bilateral cooperation. In 2019, Bhutan and India announced the joint satellite project during the visit to Bhutan by Prime Minister Modi ji. For the next 3 years, engineers from Bhutan and India worked together at ISRO facilities in Bangalore, developing and testing the satellite. In November 2022, the joint satellite was launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Andhra Pradesh. The ground station for the India-Bhutan SAT was inaugurated on 13 March this year, for which Chairman Somnath S. was also present. For Bhutan, the success of the joint satellite has made it possible for us to be more ambitious. We can now even consider building homegrown satellites morphing into a constellation of small, low-Earth orbit satellites with a wide range of practical applications. As we move forward, partnership with ISRO will be vital for the success of our space program. Meanwhile, Bhutan is benefiting from the South Asian satellite gifted to neighboring countries by India. We even requested for an extra transponder and are making good use of this also. The future of space technology and exploration definitely looks exciting. There is no doubt that the vast possibilities that exist in space will translate to immense economic benefits here on Earth. I am confident that, followed by this precursor event in Shillong, the Space Economy Leaders meeting in Bengaluru under the G20 presidency of India will provide an excellent platform for participating countries to hold productive discussions and work together to reap common benefits in the spirit of India's message to the world, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, one Earth, one family, one future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that comment. We move on to Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Secretary Somanath and Chairman Goenka. Must first thank you for the kind hospitality that you have extended, and also to the government of Meghalaya as well. Inviting Sri Lanka for this event, I see as being part of Prime Minister Modi's broader vision for the G20. That is the voice of the Global South, where countries that may not have normally had the opportunity to interact and engage the G20 would be given an opportunity. And especially in this critical sector, I must thank you and all the organizers for making this available, because I think this initiative of Prime Minister Modi's has been well received across the world, that you are making it a much broader engagement than just narrowly a restricted one. I also noticed the participation here goes beyond governments, the private sector, the non-government organizations, think tanks that are dealing with outer space, and I think that is critical too, because this is bigger than just one grouping. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we have been working with many G20 countries, of course led by India, in partnership in different areas of capacity building when it comes to satellite and space technology as well. Our usage, especially in agriculture, climate, and capacity building connected to that, training as well. We have been trying to develop the space economy as a possible area for engagement in our economic recovery as well. Our main nodal point for this has been the Arthur Clarke Center. Arthur Clarke, in case some of you may not be aware, was a Sri Lankan UK citizen. And of course, as you know, the Clarke Belt was named after him. And he interestingly provided the vision for Sri Lanka for satellite and also for space, the new frontier. In fact, in 1979, I believe, he wrote a book called Fountains of Paradise, which basically dealt with the potential he thought, it was science fiction, but nevertheless, the potential he thought Sri Lanka would have in dealing with space and also satellite technology. Our new president has featured the space economy as part of our economic recovery strategy. And he also would like to work with India and your organization in that context. And I think we will see more movement in that regard in the near future. One last suggestion I would like to have is that India take the lead in trying to create some kind of a window to engage countries from the south, like Sri Lanka, like Bhutan, and others who are here today, in the context of the space economy. Maybe that could be part of the legacy of India in the context of the G20, because I believe it's a very good initiative, and I must congratulate you on that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all those comments that we received today. In fact, our scheduled time was 12:45, so we just crossed 3 minutes past 12:45. But we know that we started a little bit late. So noting that, then we will make use of this few minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most, in some questions and answers. If anyone of you have any questions, we will, and answers, of course, should come. Then also we will open for any discussions, or anybody else desirous of speaking at this moment can press the button, and we will connect them for that. Yes. Fine. I think there are no questions, no suggestions then that we have already discussed. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. A word of appreciation to all the participating delegates, as well as the moderator, Mr. Somnath S. Sir, and the others who have participated in this first technical session. As we come to the end of this engaging session, I would now like to call upon Mr. Shantanu Bhattavdekar, Scientific Secretary, ISRO, and Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director of ISRO's National Remote Sensing Center, to present the mementos to His Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and Heads of Delegation of the G20 and the invited countries, seated on the right side and the left side of the head table. This is a small token of appreciation for your avid participation in the session. Thank you. Thank you, sirs. Since we have come to the end of this first technical session, I would like to announce that we will now break for lunch, arranged at the Spectra restaurant on the ground floor, and gather for the second technical session of the day at 14 hours. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. I will also extend my thanks to you for participating very actively. And the next session is going to be very exciting, that we are going to have quite a bit of data coming in for our consumption. Thank you. So don't forget to join on time. Thank
you. Meghalaya, the abode of clouds. A land so enchanting. It makes time stand still. With a distinctive and ethnic culture. And vibrant tribal folklore. Filled with the goodness of nature. Every day here is an adventure.